Hello there, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt. It's an absolute pleasure to have you back here with us once again for another wee video as we swirl around some of the transfer rumours. We know that is pretty much exactly what it is. It's rumours and nothing more. But as we are well inside the dying embers of the transfer window, one thing is for certain, and that is that we certainly need reinforcements. The result at Hearts showed that the squad depth simply wasn't there, and we find ourselves in a bit of a sticky wicket. As you know, I don't need me to tell you, but Celtic are third, still 6 points behind the league leaders Hearts and 2 points behind City rivals Rangers, who do appear to be signing players, as do Hearts. So it is time for us to do that, and as you can see there on the tagline, we have the beautiful looking Kasper Høgh there, from Bodo, which is the most recent link, and we'll talk about that. But as it says in the tagline, it seems almost too ambitious to seem believable. But let's take it at face value. We'll talk through it amongst other potential things that might be happening. And it is indeed, joined with me is my right-hand man. For the middle of the sea, it is Paddy Boy. Paddy, I think this is really like Groundhog Day, and I am sorry for continually asking you these type of questions, but I mean, how are you feeling about this? Is it really time to kind of be almost hitting that panic button?
Mate, I feel like Martin O'Neill. Every time he gets asked about a transfer, I actually feel embarrassed coming on here and saying that, listen, we've brought in 2 loan players. It's ridiculous, mate. I shouldn't have to deal with this. I shouldn't have to get ripped off of Rangers fans, Hearts fans, Aberdeen fans, and I hold Celtic accountable for that. I really do. It's ridiculous, and it's laughable. If you didn't laugh about it, you would greet, because we were here last year. We've done the exact same thing.
Yep.
The year before, we would have been doing the exact same, and it goes on and on. Other than the Ange season, Steve, we would have been sitting here every single season. And it's ridiculous. We're monitoring the situation. We're keeping tabs on this player. We are. Come on,
mate. We also joined a race today, apparently.
Oh, we joined a race. Well, come on, let's get the speedy shoes on and go for it. Let's just get the finger out here. Open the biscuit tin. It's time to spend a few quid and get this league back in touching distance.
Absolutely, yeah. As we said, we joined a race. The problem always is it's fine. It's nice to join a race, but Celtic seem to join it, like 4 or 5 miles into it when everybody's well down the road. And as we've learned, mate, we are a Honda Civic. You're not going to make up that mileage anytime soon. So, yeah. But like as we say, we don't laugh, you would cry. But let's have a wee look through it. But I've welcomed everybody else who says it's a wee bit of a pop-up one, so we know it's very late. It's a bit unsurprising. We're thinking, let's just talk about it. Let's make it happen. So welcome. We all use that filtering in. But if you are watching after the event, after the live, and you're catching up, a warm welcome to yourself as well. Just make sure, as we say, hit that subscribe button. It costs you absolutely hee-haw, like Celtic's activity in the transfer window, and it helps us out, spreads the word, gets more bodies in here, recommends us to like-minded Celtic fans. You know that by now. And of course, give it that big fat thumbs up if you like it. Get us elsewhere on the links down below in the description and our other social media. So, Paddy, let's get down to business, as we say here. Now, the manager, like every other manager before, has become a bit like a broken record.
Yes.
And it's been safe to say that Martin O'Neill hasn't really minced these words. He's been basically sounding the alarm and reminding ourselves how we need to get in these reinforcements. And we also heard from our captain, who, again, reiterated the exact same thing. It's good to see, but he done that during the summer and nothing was done. They didn't take any notice of it then. Why should they take notice of it now? So on and so forth. We're getting fed up with it. However, there has been some chat from some credible sources that the word is that our manager, Martin O'Neill, had, shall we say, very direct words with the powers that be in the boardroom over the sort of past week or so, couple of days, and perhaps that expedited the arrival of Karanka into the side, where he is, not missed. He's not, shot and hit the wall. Told him, as he said, we knew when he left, Nancy came in, that he had sat down, he had a frank conversation, told the board what he thought of the squad depth, what he thought where it needed to go for a new manager or anybody else for us to be successful and push on. It fell on, the usual board's ears that aren't interested. They only hear what they want to hear, and they completely ignored it. But now he's back in situ. The transfer window's open. We're now, that's right, it's the 27th, almost going into the 28th, and nothing's been happening. The word has been that he has had really straightforward words with them and put it all on the line and let them know exactly that, one, he's been made to look like an absolute fool here, and two, if Celtic do not go and get the required reinforcements in, that you might as well just forget the league. You might as well just hand it over to one of either Rangers or Hearts and say, the two of you just knock yourself out, fight it out, because we will not be doing it. So the question begs, Paddy, will they actually listen to the manager? Will it happen? Will it have any effect on this board?
I don't know, mate. Listen, we don't even know if the conversations took place. Let's be honest, we heard that with Brendan, we heard it with previous managers as well. There's conversations being had. They've highlighted positions that we need to strengthen and all of this kind of stuff. Until we actually see this kind of conversation taking place, then I don't know what's happening there. Is Martin happy to sit at the helm and just finish second or third? I don't think he is.
No.
I think conversations must have been had, Steve-O. I think we must have highlighted these positions, and surely Michael Nicholson's not done the old shoulder shrug again. Surely he's got to act on it. Do you know what I mean? Surely he has to go out there and do it. I've seen a few really funny gifs as well about the transfer window and Michael Nicholson and stuff. Obviously, we'll not put them up, but there's a few funny things kicking about, and it just, mate, it's getting ridiculous because it's every single transfer window, and we know we need to strengthen. The Hearts game showed that, like you said, taking off guys and then having to bring on Tony Ralston at left back and all of this kind of stuff, mate. It just, every single time. Do you know what I mean? And we find ourselves in this situation at every single transfer window. And we shouldn't. We have the funds, we have the money there available. We know what we need. That stuff's been highlighted.
Yeah.
We've spoken to teams apparently. Like when we want to talk about the players, obviously you tell us what these players are so-called valued at. Why not just go out and do it? We know the business we need to do. This one says that 6 million for Hogg. Mate, see if that is the money. Oh my God. Just go, do it. We paid 9 million for Ida.
Absolutely. Get yourselves out there and make it happen. But Paddy, I just want to bring up some, before we sort of talk about these sort of rumours, most of them, bar Kasper Høgh, most of them are stuff that we already know about, but apparently there's developments. And I thank you very much to Dan the man, who's gifted 5 you lovely people 8 membership there. So very lucky if you get that. And thanks to Dan for your continued support. We really do appreciate it. But yeah, what I was saying is, Paddy, in terms of, before we look at it, this is something that is inbuilt and it's been there for years. Now, success can't be taken for granted. We'll never take it for granted. But let's be totally honest here, Paddy. It does cover a multitude of sins, and it certainly papers over the cracks. But the reality is, and we've said it, this has been managed decline by this board for multiple seasons. And this is just starting to bear the fruits, the unfortunate rotten fruits that are about to fall off the tree. Now, we laughed many seasons ago when a certain Dave King said that if Rangers won a title, that we would fold like a pack of cards and it would all go down. Now, as we well know, right? As we well know, they did win that title and they probably should have kicked on, but they didn't, and it didn't work. Much to our fortune, let's be totally honest, because there was still something of a basket case, right?
Yes.
But they appear to be getting their house in order. We know that they are in debt. In fact, I think it was 14, 15 million last season. They posted a loss. Well, Celtic are 77 in the bank. Look at that. Let's just look at it, because that's what we do. And Hearts seem to be really getting their act in order. The reality is, see, when you think about it, there's an element of truth in what he said there. And that was, if we got an actual challenge, that we would feel the pinch, that we would almost capitulate and would fall away. Now, listen, for the avoidance of doubt, there is still plenty of money in there and plenty of time, albeit ticking away, to really put the foot down and give yourself the best chance. This is still a winnable league. It really is a winnable league. Let's not kid ourselves on, but it'll fully hinge 100% on us acting here. But come back to that point now. If you think about it, we haven't actually had a legitimate challenge And yeah, you've still got to win the games. You've still got to get through it. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But when you really peel it back, we've never been completely ultra dominant and scintillating. We haven't. We really haven't. And again, I look at last season, a lot of the failings, the trippings up off our Rangers side really aided to us. Of course, we had to go and win those games, but the yo-yoing up and down, that's kind of now recently stopped, and it's been us that's gone down. I say this to you, Paddy, this is us with money facing a challenge. Can you imagine if we were actually skint?
I know. I mean, it's honest, like I say, it's laughable. And we've seen it so many times. I don't even know where you go with it. I really don't. You kind of look at it and everybody's getting involved in the chat. You can see it there. Like there's loads of fucking comments and stuff coming in, and it's just, it's starting to get right on my tits. Do you know what I mean? And what do we do? Do you know what I mean? We've told them before, like, what we need. And you've seen it. How many times have we went in and tried to undercut a club who's selling a player, and we've lost out on that player? You need to look back at last year, and it happened so many times there again. And we're starting to do it again this year. We're going in and we're trying to undercut, and we're trying to save a few quid here and there, and nothing is coming back. And it's just absolutely ridiculous, mate. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, and it's not going to happen.
You know, the thing is, obviously, I'm looking at some of the comments as come through, and a lot of people are now get their eyebrows raised at what I said. Now, I'm not professing that, you know, Dave King got something right, because I'm fully aware of the tear of dominance, if you want to call it that we went on. But again, and folk will say it's entitled, or what do you want? I'm just looking at it. I'm taking a step back from it and actually thinking, you know, where do we find ourselves? Have we really capitalized on that success and built on it? No, we haven't. We've maintained it, which has been fantastic, and never take that for granted. I would never be entitled or, you know, expectant of something, but in principle, in theory, you should, if you are that dominant, you should every single season, you should be, you know, improving the squad, building on the squad, pushing on in Europe, having succession planning. But instead, what we find ourselves with is the most expensively assembled Celtic squad in recent times, with the highest wage bill in its tripe. And that's the reality of it. We are now in a stage where we've backed ourselves into a corner. You know, we've played ourselves into a shoot, and we've ended up with this guff squad, poorly assembled, and depending on a squad from as much as 4 or 5 years ago, and it's past its sell-by date. Whereas the other teams around us appear to be getting their shit together, and it is becoming a genuine challenge. And we've put ourselves into a position where we should be at our strongest. We should actually be at our strongest, but we're, funnily enough, actually at our weakest. And it's becoming dangerous where we're in a stage where it could be wholesale changes. And it's just so precarious right now, Paddy. It's so precarious that we are actually, think about it as well, the obstacles and the difficulty of the COVID season, that was the last time that we had a total, you know, bit of adversity. And I know there was many things in play. We know there was ropey, questionable testing methods and stuff, but ultimately when it came to the crunch, when the big questions were asked of us and we were facing down the barrel of the gun, it went off in our face. It went off in our face. And here we are in a situation kind of a wee bit similar, where all the pressure's on us, things aren't going our ways, and we need to act. We can't have another error like that season. That's just my concern of the situation.
Yeah, listen, mate, I totally agree with you. And you talk about the entitlement and stuff as well. And obviously, guys our age, we're not entitled, although, listen, it's been great winning all of these titles and stuff. Of course it is. But we remember when we weren't. We remember back in the days when Rangers were the dominant side. And everybody says it comes in cycles and whatever else. That's what I've been getting off here. And yeah, we remember back then when it was hard to be a Celtic fan. It was hard to sit down there every single week and watch as they overspent and done whatever they were doing. Yes, they cheated their way to the top, of course they did, but I understand how that kind of worked. And now a lot of people are saying Celtic fans are entitled. You just think you should win everything. You think you should win a cup. You just need to turn up and whatever else and blah, blah. Yes, in a way, because it's essentially what we've done for the last 14 years. Like one said there, do you know what I mean? Like the amount of titles that we've won. It's absolutely ridiculous, mate. We have dominated Scottish football for so long.
Just to jump in on that, I don't want it lost in anybody. We acknowledge it, but what we're saying is, and as Michael's just saying there, yes, loads of trophies, but we are now at a crossroads where it could come to an end. Starting with this season, it could come to an end. Now, of course, we will find and say, I see they won their one trophy and it took a global shutdown. I get it. I know that. That's not beyond me. And I also know that all the dominant, or the vast majority, about 90% of the dominant teams across Europe also lost their title that season. So I'm not, and funnily enough, it was also teams who are, well storied for their support. Those also lost it. So I know, I'm not daft. I get the ins and outs of it, but the point that I was trying to make with that is that what would the excuses be if we lost this? Yes, we can look to the Nancy appointment. We can totally shelve that. But the crux of it, the underlying point of it will be what didn't happen in the summer, and potentially if they don't act here, what didn't happen now.
Yeah,
Nancy will be a footnote on it that wouldn't have helped it. Nancy would be a footnote on it if Celtic didn't win the league. Nancy would be a footnote of one of many horrendous decisions that ended up in that result, which touchwood hopefully doesn't happen. But the reality would be that the squad's fucking shite because of mismanagement and transfer windows. That's what I'm trying to get through here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find someone here. I noticed earlier on. Give me 2 seconds.
Is this the summer transfer window post?
Yeah, so we're about to talk about summer transfers.
I've got it right here if you want, Paddy.
So
summer signings.
The summer transfer window, people, right? You look at it, and that was your chance then, right? If we got that in before the Kairat Almaty game, then it's potentially a different season. We go into Europe, we get the 40 million, and then we have that to invest. And we spoke on here before about the smoke and mirrors concept. And if you haven't seen that, by the way, guys, check it out. Smoke and mirrors, right? The deception of Celtic or something, was it, Steve? I can't remember.
Deception of Celtic's transfer window. It's. I think it was one of our first videos that we've done on here. It was sort of almost feature length, but you could cut and paste it to any season.
Of course you could. And that's a ridiculous thing. You look at that, and basically, if Celtic had got that 40 million, then I believe that we would have invested a slight proportion of it. We haven't sold a big asset this year. And we always said that in order for Celtic to do their transfer business, they have to sell a big asset. Now, the last one was Matt O'Reilly. We got rid of him. We brought in some players off for that. And we haven't done that yet this year. And I don't think we will. I don't think we will get rid of any assets in that team worth anything upwards of 10 million, because, let's face it, nobody in there is worth that at the minute.
Well, Paddy, talking about this before we move into stuff. So, got in front of here, the summer signings. This is what the post, you've probably seen it. It was an account on X, credit to them, at Dom Mackay, CSC. It says summer signings, Shin Yamada loaned out. He's been loaned out to the 15th out of 18th best team in Bundesliga 2 in Germany. Fair play to him, maybe he'll find his level there. So loaned out. Inamura, loaned out. Balikwisha, horrendous. 5 million quid. Simpson Pusey cancelled his loan. Iheanacho, okay, decent in spells, but injury can't keep him fit. That's not his fault. We've had to play him. Why? Because we haven't had the options. So he's injured. Osmond, injured again. Accidents happen. And Nygren, top goal scorer for Celtic and all over. Unacceptable, a good, a pass mark. Kieran Tierney obviously costs nothing. Kieran Tierney is what it is. But that's your summer transfer window. That's the crux. That's what you've got. In fact, I think you maybe was Sinisal? No, he wasn't. He was last season. So there you go, right? You don't have. That's what you've got to show for. That's what Celtic were getting tooled up for an assault in the Champions League qualification and to go on and try and assert their dominance. That's what we've got. And that's where they all are.
As well, he came in, didn't he?
Sorry?
Tenecki, was that this year?
Well, he's technically, I suppose Tenecki's been forgotten. But again, Tenecki, I'll chuck him in a wee bit to the Balikwisha. Sort of, 3 goals and no assists. Brilliant. Sign me right up for it in a position where we need potency.
I know, exactly. When you look back to the kind of returns we were getting for Nicholas Kuhn and Abada and kind of guys like this, it's different class, isn't it? It's just a no-brainer to get rid and get in someone who can actually do the job, Steve, because these guys, scouted by, I take it, the famous Dr. Tisdale, who's now out the door, thank God. But if he's the one that scouted them, then by God, mate, you have severely ripped us a new one. I don't know how that boy's got into that position, but when you look at the transfers, Steve, or the lack of transfers, it just puts it into context. And do you know what, mate? We need to do better this time, and that's why I'm pushing the fact for your man Maswanhise at Motherwell, because I believe someone who is in the Scottish football, he's doing a job, get him across.
So, Paddy, let's jump in. Obviously, people are here to discuss the potential of Kasper Høgh, but let's say it. Look, then, just you brought him up. Let's bring up Maswanhise right now. What have we learned? What do we know? Contracts extended on for a year, so they took that option. So it's next summer, right? But Maswanhise, he has 16 goals and 2 assists this season for Motherwell. That's pretty damn good. He's versatile, can play on the wing, can play through the centre, as he's been doing. Now, we've been told that the fee that Motherwell want is, well, it's lofty for Motherwell, of course it is, but at the same time, it's also very sensible. Excuse me, I'm just going to plug in my battery charger there. There we go. So £4 million is what they want. That's the word on the street. That's what the valuation that they've put them on him. And I think it's a bargain. It's a snip. Because, again, I refer you to Balikwisha and Taneke. That's combined. That's the gutsy 10 million quid, right? And between them, they have 3 goals and 2 assists. Now, here's a fun fact for you as well. With 16 goals and 2 assists, brilliant numbers for Maswanhise. He grew on for last season. Obviously, it was significantly less, but he's shown steady progression in the league of which we play. Now, Balikwisha, Taneke, Iheanacho, Yang, and Yamada, he's scored more goals than them, and he's had 2 less assists than them. Balikwisha, 0 and 2. Taneke, 3 and 0. Iheanacho, 3 and 1. Yang, 6 and 1. And Yamada, absolutely hee-haw. If you want to chuck Kenny into it, it's 6 goals and 2 assists. So there you go. That combined list of Celtic players have 18 goals and 6 assists, and he's got 16 goals himself and 2 assists.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
And there you go. And then add up, mate. Add up the value. Balikwisha, Taneke, and Yamada, and the cost that the month now we put in Yang. So there's maybe what combined, you're talking about 15-16 million pound of players.
Yeah, exactly. And there's people in the chat there listening to say worth the 4 million. I think it was Tommy Burns that said that. 100% he's worth 4 million, mate. In this current transfer window, I'm probably worth about 4 million. Listen, Maswanhise, for me, as Steve was said, he's one of these guys. He's doing it in the league for the same reason that we should have bought Majowski. I know he's at the baddies now, and I know what everybody says about him, but when he was banging him in for Aberdeen, and they were playing that ball over the top, and he was getting on it, pushing players out of the way and banging the goals in, we should have bought him. We should have took that chance then and there. Do I think he's worth that kind of money now? No, I don't. No. I think he's went out to whatever it is, Girona he was at, and he's lost a bit. He's lost a little bit of that attacking prowess that he had. However, somebody like Maswanhise, somebody like Bowie as well, who again is in that bracket, they are doing it in the SPFL. Do you know what I mean? They're scoring the goal.
I think what I would say is, and again, we spoke about Bowie and we kind of thought, he might be one. We know that I think it's Hellas Verona came in with £5 million from that's been turned away. Obviously, they're expecting a wee bit more. If I was a toss a coin between Maswanhise and Bowie, I would go with Maswanhise. I think he's got more to his game. I do think that Bowie could do well at Celtic, and I'm not going to back down from that opinion I had, but I just think in terms of the numbers and the vein of form that he's in, the confidence, he's the one to go for, because he is buoyant. He's right up there. He's playing well. He's on fire. And likewise, I agree with what you said about Majowski. At the time when he was on fire, that's when you go and get these guys, because you hope that they can carry on in there. There's no way of a transition there. I know they go to a bigger club, there's more expectation, you maybe play different, so on and so forth, but the reality is you're coming into the league that you've been in, you're a wee bit in your comfort zone, and you should be fully the sort of go about you to push on. when you reallocate to another country in a different league, it can derail you. But it should seem a wee bit more seamless.
See, at the end of the day, right, see if you're looking at Bowie, right, he's going to be fighting for his place in the Scotland squad to go to the World Cup. He is going to want to be in Scotland performing on a week-in, week-out basis. And let's face it, Clark's going to be there to watch a very high percentage of your games because we've got a lot of Scottish players in there. He's going to want to be there. He's going to want to see his players playing. And if you've got him playing for a team like Celtic and he's absolutely banging them in, it's only going to do him a favour, do you know what I mean? So I think it'd be in his interest, obviously, to come to a team like Celtic. At Hibs, he's going to get chances, but he's not going to get as many chances as he gets at Celtic. And it always comes down to that. You say Maswanhise scores 16 goals for Motherwell. That's 25 for Celtic, the amount of chances that he would get. Do you know what I mean? It's totally different, mate. It's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, and I think as well, as Punch is saying, you know, with him, he's at least going to be, you know, 10 goals or whatever a season. Like you'd minimum at Celtic, you're going to say more, but he can play in the wing. He gives us that versatility. We can Cara in there, potentially, hopefully, another striker. You would maybe bring him in with a view of using him as a winger. But you've also got the option there. I just think it's a no-brainer. Now, on that, as we said, £4 million, that's what they've valued him at. Now, we all know, where is the make weight in this? Where's the potential in for Celtic? Now, because I will say this, we've seen the reports, right? And I'm just going to talk about Rangers because it is relevant to Maswanhise. They are trying to offload some of their plankton, their absolute dung. I think it was Pathos had come in for £2 million or something for Neill and apparently turned away. But if they can get rid of folk, then they are apparently in a stage now where they will unload players to get players in because they've kind of, you know, they've blown their load, they've spent a lot of money and they want to spend more money because they want to smell blood and push on, but they also have a wee bit of sensibility. We need to try and get rid of folk. But I can guarantee you that if they do manage to get rid of some of the deadwood, that they'll just go out and go £4 million, that's fine. The Celtic have a wee bit of an ace here because we have Stephen Welsh, who played there. I think he had 20 games with him. He played quite well, settled in, was a mainstay in the team, and they want him. Now, obviously, we were going to be meant to be selling him to Aberdeen. That didn't materialise. We played him and we foolishly cup-tied him. So, unless he goes back to Motherwell, he can't play anywhere else in Europe. Absolutely stupid. Madness by Celtic. We've backed ourselves into a corner and we've made it hard. Now, he is a good make weight because see if we hadn't played him in that game, we could say to him, well, look, we know you want him, but Aberdeen want him and there could be a bit of negotiation. His value might even retain. But the word is that Celtic have said, we'll give you £2 million in Stephen Welsh, which, to be honest, no disrespect to Welsh, I find it slightly laughable that I think he's a £2 million player, and more to the point that you know, they're going to get that kind of value because remember back, they put £500,000, I think it was, on his head, and Aberdeen took the poke at it, right? So I don't know where Woogie, him plus Welsh comes into the equation. Let's be sensible here, Celtic. You're looking at a hot commodity. I think you should just give him the fucking £4 million and then negotiate whatever the price is going to be for Welsh. Do you know what I mean?
I'd give him the £4 million and Welsh just to sweeten the blow, mate.
But let's be sensible. See if it was £3 million in Welsh, that's going to get done. So just stop thinking about Celtic and go and do it. Now, of course, Welsh have been understood. He's been told if you hang about, you are going to be fourth choice. So you're not going to play. But as well, come back to this idea of Celtic's valuation on him. Celtic are also devaluing him if they kept him because let's be honest, barring an absolute disaster, he's not going to get anywhere near the team, and a guy that's sitting on the bench is worthless.
Yeah. Again, someone who might be trying to get into the Scotland squad. Do you know what I mean? If he goes to Motherwell,
juniors.
No, listen, you think about it. He's been at Motherwell. He's basically been the player of the season so far, other than Maswanhise. They've loved him. He's been playing well out there. He's been doing good. He's been getting in every single week. Do you know what I mean? Motherwell fans are loving him. I spoke to a few of them and Stephen Welsh is some defender. Why do you not give him a chance and blah, blah. And again, Steve, I think it comes down to the weight of the Celtic jersey. That expectation of having to win every single week, I think it might come down to that. Stephen Welsh is, as we know, he's a Celtic fan. He's a local boy to us. And I think that kind of pressure is just something that he might not be able to deal with. So going to a team like Motherwell, he could come on leaps and bounds. You look at guys like Jack Hendry and the other young laddie, Hickey, as well. These guys kind of left the Scottish League and went elsewhere to apply their trades, and they've kicked on. They've absolutely kicked on. They've actually became very, very good defenders. So I think giving Stephen Welsh that opportunity to go to somewhere like Motherwell and apply his trade, it could be the best thing for him as well. He might kick on, we might see a different animal.
I can understand here that look, he knows that if he wants to play football, if he wants to kick on, as you say, and if he wants to, I don't think he'd any chance of going to the World Cup. But let's just play that for talking's sake. If he wants to put himself into contention, he needs to be playing, he needs to pick up for the left off. He's not going to get out rotting on the bench at Celtic. But I think Celtic need to be realistic to what they've got there. They wanted to get rid of him for 400,000, 500,000, and now they suddenly think that he's going to be the equivalent to £2 million a make weight deal for a hot commodity. Just get real with it. And I think that you're almost pushing against an open door there, because they want him. They're getting a good amount of value for a player if you offered them that, say, £3 million, and they're getting something that's fitting in their team. They know what they're getting, and they'll get length of time out, and they'll get 4 or 5 seasons potential at Stephen Welsh easily. No problem there at all. The only sticky in could be Stephen Welsh and how much he's going to get paid, because let's be honest, he's not going to get anywhere near at Motherwell he's got there. But that's what good board men do. That's what good negotiators do, Paddy, and hopefully they can get the bloody finger out their arse and move it. But that is an interesting first one. But look, let's get on to the main event here, right? Because it is, of course, this again, it came completely out of nowhere. That Kasper Høgh at Bodo Glimt, everybody's favourite team, and we want to talk about, people that we should be taking a leaf out of their book. And it's this man here. Now, of course, in case you didn't know, sleeping under a rock, this is a guy who scored 2 against Man City. Now, quite interesting.
Well.
What's that, sorry, mate?
But screamers as well. He knows how to finish a boy, doesn't he?
Yeah. So what's interesting here is we have heard reports saying that the opening gambit, if you will, the absolute bare minimum that they would accept for him is £6 million. Now, that seems incredibly low, to be honest with me. I think that considering that he is in contract, quite a sizable contract to 2029, that seems incredibly generous. I think if I was to be, and again, this is just based on what we know the way these things pan out, I think it's probably closer to maybe a £7 or an £8 million type of signing. That's the reality of it. Now, as you can see, we got him here. Good profile, age 25, Denmark centre forward at Bodo Glimt, playing quite well, and he's
£6 million in Welsh.
Yep, £6 million in Welsh. You can see in about the unders set up there, and this will very much be a guy who will go on and he'll become a full Danish international. There's no doubt in my mind. He's definitely the right sort of profile, but as I say, in the tagline, once again, it seems too ambitious to be actually believable. Now, when you look at some of the names that we have been linked with, even the likes of Karanka, the only striker truly for me was Kovacevic, who ended up going to Fenerbahce, right? He was the one that I would say is absolutely going to get him. And aside from it, Kasper Høgh for me is definitely the one that we should be looking at, because he ticks all the boxes. He's scoring goals. He's played in Europe, and there we go. As you can see it there, decent enough. He's kind of been a wee bit in and out in terms of his time at Bodo. He's kind of went through a wee sort of dry spell there, but generally speaking, the numbers are good and they are positive, and he's a really good-looking player. So as you can see over the top, 234 overall appearances with 113 goals, 17 assists to boot. So that's good, and a good health, almost 15,000 minutes in his legs. You can see as well the sort of trajectory his club, and there you go. Since being at Bodo, 82 games, 42 goals, and 12 assists. Decent, that's exactly what you want to be seeing. That's the kind of player that we should be going for. Centre forward and about it. Good experience. And again, it's about building. Bodo Glimt, if they're happy to let this guy go for a minimum of £6 million, as I said, I'd say anywhere between maybe up to £8 million. That's an absolute steal. Now, of course, it'd be remiss, Paddy, to not talk about the variables, because they play Atletico Madrid tomorrow in the Champions League, and there's still an outside chance that they could qualify. I think it's safe to say that you are not going to get any movement on this guy until their fate is sealed one way or another. And if they were to qualify, it probably makes the price a wee bit dearer or not.
Yeah, listen, of course it does. He goes out there and he bangs in 2 goals, 3 goals against Atletico Madrid and puts them through. He's no longer available. That's pretty much it. He goes out there again and he plays really well, scores a goal or so, and gets put out. Then, like you said, Steve, they add another million onto his price tag. They say, well, do you know what? There he's scored another goal in Europe. He's, like you said, a hot commodity. He's out there doing it in the highest stage possible. So, for me, it looks good on paper. And it's been a while from we've been able to say that. We've been able to look at players coming in and you look at the stats and you go, yeah, right, what are we looking for here? Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at Boy Bamba, was it as well? And you kind of looked at these guys' stats and you were like, right, what are we seeing in this? Why are they coming in here? You look at Kasper Høgh's stats here, mate. Even from an early age, he was banging them in. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, Denmark under 18s caps, 2 caps for under 18s, 2 goals. Denmark under 19, 8 caps, 1 goal. So he's doing it internationally as well. And like you said, I don't think it'll be long before he is an out-and-out international player.
Definitely.
And by playing like with a team like Celtic and actually doing it on a regular basis and scoring, if he's going to be scoring in Europe or he's going to be scoring a lot of goals in the league and stuff, it's going to get him noticed.
Yeah,
we've obviously got another Danish player there. We've got Kasper Schmeichel's indoor. Use these guys. Use them to your advantage and get them talking to this laddie and big it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, this will be the best move of your career. And we need to use everything in our arsenal to try and get these guys in the door.
Well, the past 2 seasons have been steady for him now. The big question is, and I can understand this, and I can see that in the comments, you know, the big question has been, why would he leave Bodo, where he's at, that are currently in the Champions League, could still be in the Champions League, to come to Celtic? I fully understand that. And hey, we've sat here and we've said about the whole how what Celtic can normally offer you isn't there. The stability, the long-term planning, here's where we see things fitting in. Usually being top of the league, maybe a cup in the bag, doing well, everything in a wee bit of relative harmony. We don't have that to sell. So I fully, that's not lost on me. I understand that would be the case. But there's also the way to look. I think he costs something like 600 grand or something, or under $1 million or thereabouts. So even if they sell him for, again, we're just speculation. Let's just say it was £8 million, right? It's still a decent return on it. Could and maybe should they look at it and say it'd be more? Yeah, but even though they sell players for big money, not everyone is going to be completely blockbuster. And plus, if they've set a price on them and that is the price, they're satisfied with it. They say it's been decent profit. And they're obviously, unlike Celtic, they're quite comfortable that they've got some level of future planning that they can let them go. That's the way proper transfer strategy should work. But when you look at them, Paddy, the only other reported option is that Norwich are in for him, right? Now, again, no disrespect. Let's get real here. Why would they want to go? Well, if he wants to leave and your choices are Celtic and Norwich, as much of a basket case we are, I think Norwich are, 16th or something? I think since came in, to be fair, he's improved the results. But you're going down to the Championship. You are scrapping. They might get into the playoffs. They could, but it would take a hell of a run. They might get into playoffs. But let's face it, the chances of them getting into the Premier League and him playing Premier League football are zilch, zero. It's not going to happen if you go to Norwich. Equally as well, you're not going to win anything and you won't have any level of guaranteed European football. Potentially, if Celtic take care of Utrecht and Bodo go out, you go, well, do you know what? You've got another 2 matches in the Europa League. With Celtic, that could turn into other games. We are still very much in a fight. We want you to help us do that. You can still win trophies here. We're still in contention for 2 trophies. And you will get guaranteed European football next season. Whatever level that is, we don't know at this time, but that'll be guaranteed. So it does start to look a wee bit more appealing if you play it that way between the two.
Yeah, of course it does. And there's a lot of people saying, why would you choose Norwich over Celtic? Listen, people have done that previously. I refer back to one of our other transfer targets that we monitored, that we scouted, that we looked at. And that's Mr. Kvistagarten. I believe he is at Norwich, isn't he, Steve?
Yes, or do they go and sign him and then the most Celtic thing ever, we take Kvistagarten on loan?
Yeah, there you go. My voice just says it. He'll go to Norwich, we'll be Vista getting on loan. 100%, mate. Yeah.
The most Celtic king in the world, wasn't it?
We had that in the chat earlier on, and somebody kind of cracked the joke. I don't know if it was yourself, Steve, and I sat there and I just went, it's so typical. It would be so typical of Celtic. We look at this guy and we go, Kasper Høgh's the main guy we're going for here. Yeah, he's going to be fantastic. Oh, wait a minute, Norwich have signed him. Can we have this thing happen? Do you know what I mean?
So Paddy, to just ask you a question on this, because this has been I came up with the tagline. It wasn't bait. It's genuinely, I think, too ambitious to be believable. This would be definitely a kind of signing that would get folk excited. But again, as we always do, I take this with a massive grain of salt. It's huge. Like, I don't, and I would love to think that Celtic would do something like this. But does it maybe? And again, this is me being completely cynical here. Is this similar to the Dolberg situation, where Celtic fire out an attractive name that's got decent pedigree, playing at a decent level, that they know fans would get on board with, right? They would go, oh, we want that. And then they drag it, and they don't get over the line. Then they can kind of go in hindsight and go, well, you see, we were looking at these better players, and it's just really hard to get these guys done. Do you know what I mean? Again, smoke and mirrors, like just, oh, look at the shiny, it's an illusion, just to make it look like we're really trying to get top quality players, but it's just a bit hard.
Yeah, it kind of looks that way, mate. The Dolberg situation, I mean, we sat here as well, and we were both quite excited by Kasper Dolberg coming into Celtic, and it was a very similar conversation to what we're having about Kasper Høgh. And it was like, oh, what a signing that would be. He would run a mock-up here, he would do really, really well, and I think he would fit into the style of play and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, bang, he's gone. At this stage, it's kind of getting to the stage where I'd settle for Adamida coming back up the road. Do you know what I mean? It's just getting to that. Just gaze anyway, gaze empty. Do you know what I mean? Just get somebody in the door, and you seen the feeling last week when Big Thomas took to the park. That feeling, we've got a new player on there, a new striker. Let's wait and see what happens, and it gives you that wee bit of anticipation. It brings that wee bit of love back, and we just need to get these big ones over the line, mate. We really need to do it. And obviously there are other players that we're in for as well, and it's, for me, this one should be done, like you say, Steve. If it's 8 million, give them this offer 7. They don't want 7, give them the 8. Simple as that.
And that's the thing. I laugh because I asked you the other day and I said, are Celtic, for whatever reason, waiting to see if they get through fucking Europe? Yeah, it's ridiculous as that sounds, because you should just get them in early. Forget the game, forget where we might go in Europe, and you're going to look at the game of the weekend, and that's the game that you've got to take care of. Get them in for that. But I think that there's no doubt that I expect all these rumours, and it is typical, we've said a million times over, good teams, organised teams get their players in early regardless of what's going on. But once the Champions League games are out the way tomorrow, once our game is out the way on Thursday, I expect it to classically be the scramble, the steeplechase, they're whipping the horse, going to the finish line, hoping that they win. I think that's what we'll end up with, right into the weekend, into Monday, and that's probably the way it'll be. But once we know exactly where Bodo lie tomorrow, regardless of what we're doing, we should just be walking in and going, buff. If we want them, go and get them. And on that as well, you mentioned it, we've spoken about Maswanhise, that would be a good attacking option. Høgh would be a fantastic way to supplement that. There might still be people here. Now, one thing that we do need, Paddy, is a midfielder. And there's 2 names that have come up. And the first one is, of course, for the boy from Hajduk Split, which is Nico Sigur. Obviously, he is the Canadian chap. Again, might be a wee bit of Alistair Johnson chat there. And the only people that have come in with an offer from him appears to be Bran, about £2.5 million. But we heard a couple of days ago with reports that he has said that he would definitely favour as a destination coming to Celtic. Now, fits the bill exactly what we need, a combative defensive midfielder. But I ask you the question, Paddy, we are so bloated. And yes, bloated with absolute shite in the midfield.
Yeah.
Do you, as much as we need it, and it's so glaringly obvious, do we bring in another midfielder, even though he'd be a completely different type, even though it'd be what we need to be a defensive, combative midfielder? Do we do it? And if we do, does that mean that you're getting rid of folk? Because I just feel that, Hatate, your pal, is, again, who would buy him? That's the question. But he's the kind of guy that should be getting moved on.
Yeah.
Bernardo's never going to make it happen.
I know. You look at it, Steve. It's been the same again. It's that thing where we look back to previous seasons and we look at the middle of the park and we go, yeah, there's a hell of a lot of deadwood sitting in there. And there are 30 guys like McCarthy and all of that. Do you know what I mean? You go back and Tomoki Iwata, although he's doing a brilliant job now, and you look at all of these guys and they were just sitting on the periphery of breaking out of the squad, and they weren't quite there. They didn't quite have what it took to be a Celtic player day in, day out. And I just feel like if you are going to offload people, if you are going to get rid of, like you say, your Bernardos, your Hatates, your anyone in there, anyone of that kind of that type of player, and you're going to bring in someone better, then surely it's a no-brainer. And obviously, you spoke about the link there with Brand Bergen as well. Who was the Brand player that we were into as well?
So this is where it's interesting, because a lot of things moving parts here. Now, Seguir, we've been linked with, right? But we've also been linked that, we've said that Brand have put in a bid for him, which has been rejected. But we have also been linked with Felix Horn-Meyer, who is a Brand player, who is a defensive central midfielder. So, again, there's many moving parts here, and I'll bring him up here.
Have more ambition than Brand Bergen? That's what that's going to come down to. And our board has shown me that they don't have any ambition. So what we will do is we will buy Meyer, and we won't go for Nico Seguir, who clearly is the better option. Do you know what I mean? We will give Brand Bergen the money to go buy this guy, and we'll take the shit that they're offloading.
Well, see, the thing is, I think we'll look through both of them here. I get that, but you've obviously got to look at it and say, well, they're looking at it as being one in, one out, and they're not going to sign this guy if they don't think that Seguir is of better quality. I think that, so I do think that is fair to say. I think that when you look at both the players, we'll look at Seguir here first. I think both of them fit a very good, sort of stature and level, and the credentials look positive. There's the numbers just on Seguir, and now let's go and we'll change over and we'll have a look at Horn-Meyer's details. Now, they're very similar. They are very similar, and I think both of them have great credentials, and both of them would strengthen our side to no end. We're not going to sign both of them, let's be honest, because they are the same player.
Who's the cheating?
Well, there comes in the question. But to say, if you look at the two of them, they've both got good experience, and they've both got plenty about them. There's a lot to like, There you go. Horn-Meyer's get full Norway caps, plenty through the youth squad, and then obviously we know that that Seguir is Canadian. But there's a it's muchness almost. I think that both of them definitely improve Celtic and give us something that we need. But I understand where you're going with that, Paddy. They're willing to sell this guy to bring in the guy that we're looking at. But
and that's kind of typical of Celtic. All right, if they're going for him, wait a minute, right, we can get somebody for them. Who are they going to offload to bring in this guy? Right, we'll take him off.
But then what I would say, Paddy, as well, sorry to jump in, it might just be, look at his career, right? Look at how long he's been with them. It might just be the point, Paddy, that he's 26, that he has ran his course at that club. He's outgrown that club, and he wants to move on. He wants to improve. So I'm looking at through those positive eyes where either of them are positive, but particularly looking there at the chap for Bran, I think when you look at Horn-Meyer, the fact that he's been there for so long and he's been a mainstay, I think it's really just a case of he's wanting to move on. And if he's intimated that, that's where Seguir comes in, and they've identified that. It just so happens that we've also apparently identified him.
Yeah, fair enough. I get how you're looking at it in a positive way. Maybe I'm just being quite negative and saying that we should be going for the Seguir because he's the one that they seem to be looking at. Again, it was similar to when we had the chat with Paul John Dykes and we were talking about Celtic and Bruges and Celtic and Sporting Lisbon and how they were going out and they were going to buy these kind of bigger type players, and yet we were taking the scraps kind of off of their teams, and that's the teams that we were looking at back in the time when we were signing Barakwisha from Antwerp and things like that. And it just, I totally understand that. We miss out on Miranda. Exactly. It breaks my heart, transfer windows. It really, really does, because we chase the wrong players and we end up getting nobody. Do you know what I mean? We're just at this point where we're doing so much monitoring and looking and all of that kind of stuff, man, when we should just be going out. If we identify these guys and they don't have they're not playing in the Champions League or they're not playing in the Europa League, you don't have these kind of big games to come up, just go in and take them. Go in and say, right, do you want to come to us? Yep, no problem. How much do you want? There it is. Do you know what I mean? The Canadian lad, if he comes in, obviously you've got the links with Alistair Johnston as well. So that would be quite a good link up there. And obviously he would want to come in and link up with his Canadian teammate.
Yeah, as you say, Paddy, I know that this is really goes for nothing, like the Pals Act and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, there should be certain things that you can maybe tap into. You know, if you're hooking, for example, as you say, is it Kasper Høgh, you know, he's probably familiar with Matt O'Reilly, for example, at the sort of the youth level. There's maybe a conversation that could be had. Obviously, Kasper Schmeichel, there's a conversation that could be had. There's no harm in it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to mean anything, because it'll come down to the brass tacks, it'll come down to the contract, it'll come down to the money, it'll come down to the vision that's got to be sold. But I think, you know, for me, any one of those two players would be ideal, and I think it's something that we need. But then finally, the last thing, Paddy, that we need is, of course, it's a centre half or a good defender. And of course, the names that were there were Amenda from Frankfurt. Bit of a strange one. He sacked their manager. He was out of favour. He was looking for a straight up loan with an option, and your option would be lofted by about 8 million, 9 million, which is a bit rich for Celtic's blood, but potentially a very good one to get on a straight up loan. But he's been getting involved a wee bit more recently, so that maybe reduces our chances of that happening. But the second one was Jamie Lawrence at Tyrrell.
Yeah.
And again, contract's up, mate, in the summer. He ticks all the boxes. Recent reports again have come around and suggested that this is one that, I say it again, Celtic are now really looking at, and they're increasing or they're stepping up and all that pish that you hear. All the no-brainers, Paddy. This one's a fucking layup, man. I mean, come on, seriously. Why have we not done it? Why have we not done it? Why? And people are saying that we want to get rid of Welsh before we get somebody in. In fact, telling a lie, we want to get someone in before we let Welsh go. Well, fucking go and get somebody else in, because you need to get somebody else in, because you need that strength and depth there. But also as well, you want to get Welsh to fuck back to Motherwell, that maybe helps us make wait for somebody that you do want.
Exactly, mate. And listen, how many times have we seen it? How many times have we done this? Waited to sell someone. You just need to look at last year. Even Fabrizio Romano was slagging us on his X account by the way that we were doing our transfer business, or the way that we were not doing our transfer business. And it's ridiculous. We know the positions that we need to strengthen. We know that Stephen Welsh is not going to be a part of our squad. We know fine well that he is not the answer to what we have, right? To what we need. He is not going to be part of that team. Could Jamie Lawrence be the answer? Possibly. If he is, go out and get him. Go out and spend the money. I'm not sure. What did you say the transfer fee was roughly for him?
Well, mate, it's I say buttons. You're talking absolute bare minimum. It's been so cheap that it's not actually been touted. There's been nothing solid put out there, but you're talking a nominal fee. Put it that way. You're talking, you know, no disrespect. He's playing at Tyrrell, right? He's playing at Tyrrell, and it is what it is. You know, he's not playing for some superstar team. So go and get him. He's playing in Austria. They're an average team in terms of where they go, but he's got experience. He's the kind of guy you probably get him a snap. See that £2 million that we think that you know, Welsh is worth. You probably get him for that.
Aye, and that's it. Offer them Welsh as a mate for them.
Welsh. You can't go there. You can't play elsewhere.
I know. I can't do that. Mate, it's a no-brainer for me. If bringing him in frees up Welsh for the deal to Motherwell for Maswanhise, then there's two players straight away, and you're offloading some of your lesser favoured players, we'll say. That's maybe be nice about that. And then if we get one or two of the others, it makes it look like a good transfer window. And yes, we've left it to the arse end of it. Will we do a typical Celtic thing and leave it too late and then end up paying 10 million for your Kasper Høgh and then paying, I don't know, for your man Mayer, we'll pay 7 million? Do you know what I mean? A typical Celtic way of doing things. As Tom says, 600 grand there for Lawrence. We'll leave it to the last day. We'll offload Welsh. We'll bring in Maswanhise for 5 million and then we'll pay 3 million for him.
You know, there's a right good point there that was put in, and it's a question that's been posed in the comments saying, you know, add up the potential of these names that you are talking about, and do you honestly think Celtic are going to do it? Well, what I would say is Celtic's net spend in this transfer window is fuck all. So I do. And there's absolutely no excuse to go and do it. Now, let's break it down. What we're talking about here. Let's have a look at it. You're talking, again, let's just say it was the straight up 4 million, right?
Yeah.
For Maswanhise. Let's just say that's what it was. And let's go to the top end for the benefit of the doubt. And let's just say that Høgh was going to cost you £8 million, right? £12 million.
Yeah.
And what? And what? Lawrence is a couple of cups of coffee in terms of transfer fee, right? Let's try and be a bit more sort of sensible and say £1 million or £1.5 million. There's 3 players that are of good quality. You know, that's where you got to look at it. 3 players that are all of a standard, that are all producing at the teams that they're at, and that are playing. You're taking guys who are getting game time. You're not going and getting, no disrespect, I think hopefully he turns out a good player, but you're not going and getting a Karanka who's well at the picture and he's nowhere near it. You're not going and getting somebody that's not been featuring for their side and picking them off and hope that you can pick them up. You're getting guys who are first teamers. That's what Celtic need to be doing. They need to be taking guys that are getting a game for their team. I know that there's quality to be found in these guys that are on the periphery, but with that, it comes to some cases building them up in time. And Celtic don't have time. They need guys that are ready, that are fit, and that are playing. So I think, you know what? I do think that, can I see it happening? Whether I can see it happening or not is, neither here nor there, because we all know the answer to that one. But is it possible? Of course it's possible. Think it this way. The amount of money that we spent on just Engels is pretty much breaking the back of potentially 3 guys.
Yeah. Engels and Ida covers all of these guys and some. Do you know what I mean? It's as simple as that, Steve-o. Do I think Celtic will do it in typical fashion? I think, again, we'll leave it too late and we'll end up spending far too much. I do think we'll get one of them in. Who that is, I couldn't say. But I just think it's a disgrace that it's not getting pushed, mate. We're not getting this work done. All of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes and stuff, like, I hope to God they are doing something, mate, because it needs to happen. It really, really does. It's an absolute shit show.
I think, Paddy,
as I said before, we're still living off the Ange's season.
I think, the folk are asking here in terms of the spend now. I think that Arajo brings good quality. I think he's been an excellent addition to the squad. He's been brilliant. Looks like a really good bit of business, albeit quite surprising. And Karanka, take it as you find it. But so far, 2 players. Asking the question, if we got in 3 players, I think 3 for me is the absolute bare minimum that Celtic need. 3 players.
3 on top or 1 more?
That's 3 on top. So an additional 3 players.
5
I think personally, if you got Høgh, Maswanhise and a Jamie Lawrence, I think Celtic, with the reinforcements, yes, I think we can go on and win the league. Now, if you say and you get a midfielder, which again, I'm trying to be realistic because I hate building yourself up. I'm not getting ahead of myself. You saw us with the funeral suit on at the last one, so you know where we're at with that, right? So I'm trying to stay realistic. I'm trying to stay grounded. But when I look at the fees that are involved, right, Celtic could go and spend, if they want to buy those 3 players and spend the bones of £11-12 million, and that's an underspend, to be honest with you. I think for me that's pitiful in the circumstances, but it's the bare minimum should be done. If you then start looking at bringing in either Segura or Meyer, again, that could chop it up 15, 16 million pound, which again is completely, absolutely nothing when you look at the lack of fucking spend in the summer. So really, Celtic could and should be going and spending at least 20 million pound. They should be, and they should be getting at least 4 players and cementing on. If they do that, nothing's a sure thing, but you start to look really, really confident. You start to look good. You start to see a bit of depth. Yes, the midfield's been honking, but I think when you start to add things around it, it makes it all start to work a wee bit. And as you said before, Paddy, you also get the bounce of seeing new faces. It does lift you a wee bit. It lifts the players a wee bit.
Yeah,
you probably get a bit extra.
Yeah, it does. It gives the players that wee boost. And let's face it, we have got quite a good run in. Our next kind of 5 games are relatively favourable, I'll say, compared to our neighbours across the city and compared to Hearts. So this is an opportunity for us to kick on a little bit, to drag some of those points back. And we're not asking Celtic to go out there and spend 30, 40 million, even 20 million. We know, we're not stupid. We know that that is a massive ask for Celtic to do that. But at least show a bit of ambition. At least go out there and say, do you know what? We've identified these guys. This is what they're worth. They're going to help us. They're going to kick us on in the league to potentially go back and win that, and potentially do a wee bit in Europe. Because if we beat Utrecht on Thursday, the European football continues. Now, you look back to previous seasons and stuff, right? I talked to Rangers fans on here. My big pal Ryan, he's sitting there. He's a Rangers fan. He says, I hope the God you do stay in Europe, because you just need to look at the last time you were there under Martin Neill. You had a great European run. We won everything else. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. I understand that. I want a European run. I'd still love to win the league, obviously. It's the be all and end all. But yeah, I want Celtic to do well on a European stage, because it's something that we've lacked for such a long time. Other than obviously you go back to last year and you did the game against Bayern Munich and stuff like that. And like you said, Steve, that's where we should be kicking on. We should be pushing. After things like that, we go, oh wow, we got to the latter stages, the game against Bayern Munich, almost beat them, almost took extra time. Absolutely brilliant. Let's kick on. Let's bring in 20 million worth of players here. Let's try and go better, one round better the next time. And always do that. And that's what an ambitious club would do. That's what your Bruges would do, your Sporting Lisbons would do, teams like that. Celtic go, oh, we done that on a £20 million budget. Let's see how we do next year without spending anything. Do you know what I mean? Ridiculous.
Sorry. And the thing is, Paddy, it shows you how conditioned we are, because I can see some of the comments, and rightfully so, folk are totally accurate in what they're saying, of like, you know, you're off your head, you're mental, you're deluded if you think that this board will do that. Do you know what?
Yeah. I'd say
you shouldn't be. No, but what I'm saying is you shouldn't be. There's no way that anybody should think it's absolutely insane that kind of money would be spent. Because again, I bring it back to you. For me, we could have said it about the summer, but this literally is absolutely pivotal. This is a crossroads. This is staring down the barrel of the gun. All those other cliches in terms of transfer window, this one here is like make or break stuff. Make or break for Celtic season, which again is make or break for what happens in the summer, which happens in where we potentially play in Europe, which affects the funds. I know we're not good at spending them anyway, but it's either act now, roll the dice, you know, speculate to try and accumulate, salvage your reputation and push on, or it is the start of the end. Because if we don't do it and we don't spend the money now, you can forget it. It's not going to happen during the summer, and it will be a severe period of downsizing. I know it's been downsizing, but what I mean is it's going to begin through a turgid stage. You know, it could be like, I know we'll laugh because we still won stuff, but it could be like Ronnie Dyla-esque stuff if we don't do it, right? And no, it could. And that's not me trying to be dramatic. If this board do not try to make amends and actually go and spend a wee bit of this money, then it could be a rough ride, and it could be a rough couple of seasons ahead. And the difference is, is the other sides in question who could win the league. I will guarantee you, I would stake my house on it, that they will build, they will push forward, they will improve, and they will get stronger. Celtic still have the luxury of being able to go and do stuff that other teams can't. They need to go and do it. And it's sad to say that folk are saying that we'll spend fuck all. And I'll be honest with you, I'll total transparency. My head tells me that will be the case, that we'll have absolute bare minimum spend, right? That's just the realist in me. But there's also the side of me that sits and says, but this is, Celtic always seem to react to complete and utter disaster, embarrassment, because this isn't just about what would happen if you don't win the league. And I know folk will say, but there'll always be somebody that'll buy it. Folk will vote with their feet. See your season ticket renewals, they will plummet. And I know there'll be somebody else that'll buy it there. What, for the fictitious waiting list that we get told about? Is that why that waiting list is so big and so hard to get on, that they say, renew your ticket by such and such a date, and then they send you another email, good news, we've extended by 3 weeks, and then after that one you get another one, good news, we've extended by another month, because it's a fucking big waiting list. There'll be a waiting list within reason, but it's not that bad, because see, if that was the case and you hadn't renewed by the deadline, they wouldn't extend it 3 times, they just go, oh, your ticket's your ticket now, and sell it to the next person.
Yeah, exactly,
so,
mate. That's it. I seen a thing as well. I was kind of flicking through some of the pages earlier, and one of the guys has been on the home ticket scheme, obviously for the cup and stuff like that, and withdrew himself from it. And now he's got an email today telling him that tickets are available for the game against Dundee if he wants them. The tickets are available and they are on sale. They can go buy them and stuff like that. And it's like, do you know what? It just shows that it's getting to that stage where the fans are actually looking and going, do you know what, mate? You have took for so long. And you look at it, how many tops have been brought out this season? How many tops were brought out last season? We went there. I bought every single one. I must admit, I am, as I've said on here before, in the Celtic da. They bring out a trackie, they bring out a top, they bring out anything, I go buy it. It's just what I do. I'm a Celtic fan. I collect football and stuff. Steve collects jerseys, as you well know. It's what we do. And it's just getting to that stage where it's ridiculous the amount of money that we pump in, and we get nothing back out. They're not giving us the investment that we deserve. They're not showing the same ambition that we show. We want Celtic to kick on. We want Celtic to do well. And they're nowhere near as ambitious as what we are. And yet they sit there and they tell us that they are Celtic fans and that they bleed green the same as us. There's not a chance they are.
And Paddy, the thing is 2 seconds, I'll try to get something up just for a reference point, right? But the point, as I say, is that this, the reasons why are obvious, why they should be spending more money and spending a bit of money. Because, as I said, this is the equivalent of two transfer windows wrapped into one.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, we spent fucking absolute hee-haw. I've got it here, so here we go. I've just brought up the transfer marked website here. It'll show you. Obviously, it's in euros, not that's the way they work. But there you go, right? So you can see it here. It's a nice wee round at half profit, right? Nice wee round at half profit there. So there we go, right? Bear in mind it's euros, so reduce it down. But there's the bones that we're talking, the money that we've actually spent, right? It's nothing free. Loan. Absolutely nothing. So we've not really spent something. If you says to me that Celtic would go and spend 15 million euros, which, let's call it 12, 13 million euros in an entire season, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's mental. That can't happen. It simply can't happen.
Yeah.
See, sorry to jump in. See the 15 million. Well, sorry, what I'm trying to say, see the 15 million pound or upwards of 20 million that we're saying, and they should bloody go and spend this one. Normally that's what happens. Normally they front load it and they'll spend 25 million pound or whatever it is during the summer, and then you get hee-haw in January. They're doing it in reverse here. They've got to do it in reverse here. For a change, they've actually got to go and spend the money in January because they've done fuck all in the summer.
Aye. I know, and that's it, mate. We didn't do enough then, like you said. The players that we brought in, near enough all of them are away back out on loan, or their loans have been cancelled, or they're no longer at the club. Basically, like you said, their Baraquisha isn't really a player. Benji Negrin is the only one really we could look at and say, yeah, Benji's kicked on. Kieran Tierney obviously was a free and we knew we were going to get with him, but when you look at it, you're probably going, yeah, Benji Negrin is really the only one that's came in and actually done a job, and that's a sad indictment of where we are. It really is. And for me, mate, we need to make this better. We really do. And I seen something earlier on, I think it might have been Plunge or somebody else, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's saying that they can't see Celtic giving the transfer money to an interim manager. And I cannot understand that in a way. But this isn't about who's in charge of Celtic. This is about making this team strong enough to go on and challenge for this league, because let's face it, we are in a bit of a shit state at the minute. Squad-wise, squad depth, we need these players just to big us up and get us to the end of the season.
What I would say is as well, I totally get it. I understand exactly that point, that it's an interim manager, they're not going to be there and all that. I think this comes down to trust. This really does come down to trust. Now, of course, we've seen it. I'll say bigger teams. I mean, in terms of money and stuff, we've seen bigger spending teams, particularly in the Premier League, for example, have spent millions upon millions for a certain manager, and then the next one's been crap. I don't like him. So it can happen, right? Of course it can. Absolutely. I know that. But this has to come down to an element of trust, and trusting those people that are currently at the helm and doing the job. Martin Neill, he's a trusted Celtic man, whether we like it or not, off Dermot Desmond, right? Who ultimately, unfortunately, makes the decisions, right? So he's got to trust his guy. He's got to trust a guy that he's known all his life, that's been there, through it with him, part of previous tenure, temp tenure, and now coming back. He's got to trust that. He's got to trust the word of Martin Neill, that the guys that he's got following him, Sean Maloney, are working hard, they're doing the right things, and they know what they're doing. And that they will bring in players who are not only quality, but are versatile. It's different. See if it was like signing players for a Wilfred Nancy style of play, or even, dare I say it, when we signed players for Ange, where it was simply like very tailored to his specific style of play. And as we saw when Rodgers came in, it didn't quite work with certain guys. We saw that. We're talking about a guy who's very grounded and he can mix things up and he can be versatile. So he's looking at guys that can play different systems. So I think you've got to put that trust in it, into Martin Neill and Sean Maloney and Fornham, that they will bring in guys who are adaptable. They're not bringing them for a specific metrics. They've got this, they've got that. They're looking at it and saying, where have they played? What have they done? How are they performing? What's their returns? What's their attributes? And they're versatile. And when you look at most of the guys that we've looked at and sampled, most of them are versatile. Maswanhise, versatile. Høgh, striker, yes, but also there's more to his game. Looks quite versatile. The midfielders, again, versatile, and something that we don't have at the club anyway, which is a wee bit more sort of defensive. So I think that's the reason why I think you've just got to trust it, and that's why they've got to go and give the money.
I get it. I understand it, mate. You look at the guys that we brought in, and I think your man's Vinkara, I think he's one that's been identified for me by Big Fozzie. Obviously knows the German league well and knows the ins and outs of that. I think he's maybe used some of his contacts out there to progress with that kind of signing. Other markets that we are scouting around, Steve, obviously the Scandinavian markets seem to be way up there. There isn't really anywhere else that we're actually really concentrating on. So then again, it comes down to who is actually doing all of this scouting, who is the person who is going out and doing this. Because I don't know why we're not highlighting, like you said before, players, the German leagues players and the Spanish leagues players who are currently out of sorts at other clubs. We seem to be putting all our eggs into one basket here by concentrating on one party Europe here, and it seems to be quite a lot in Scandinavia. But let's face it, mate, it'll be what it'll be. We just need to sit tight at the minute. Hope to God that the Celtic are actually doing what we pray they're doing behind the scenes. None of the monitoring stuff, none of all this kind of garbage. We want to get things across the line. What have we got? 4 days, 5 days?
5.
The transfer window when's it finishing Sunday? Yeah, we'll get ready for Sunday, Steve. Obviously, if anything does come out between.
No, it's Monday the 2nd. Monday the 2nd.
Monday the 2nd, is it? So we'll get ready for Monday, and we'll get all our
got
suit looked out, do we?
Well, that is us for the time being. We want to thank you. We actually were planning on stopping for a coffee and doing 30-40 minutes, but there's over 400 of you here, so we really appreciate you staying with us and keeping us longer for a chat once again.
Please hit the subscribe button. 400 of these in the chat. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit it. Doesn't cost you a penny, guys. The same as a Celtic transfer. Press the button, subscribe. Right,
don't come to us in a loan deal. Come to us in a permanent. Hit the
exactly. Come to Celtic World Order on a permo. Let's do it.
That's it. So listen, thanks to every single one of these. As we said, over 400 in the live. Absolutely phenomenal for this time of day. And if you're catching up elsewhere on the go, then thanks again for tuning in to us. We will be back at some point. We will be back through the week, of course, because Thursday is the game against Utrecht. It is another massive game. And yes, you know what? We can still qualify in that tournament as well. So guess what? You would get more money for that you might not spend. But anyway, thank you very much to every single one of you. We'll get out your hair for the time being. We'll see you back through the week, and hopefully something happens. And if something does happen, if hell freezes over and we get not just another player in the door, but even one that costs actual real cash money, we'll be here to talk about it. So take care of yourselves, and as always,
hail, guys.
See you later. Bye-bye.